Greetings students, here to show you how to edit a collider. So I've got this basic code with just one sprite here. Yours is probably more complex, but I'm going to click this debug sprites button, which is going to allow me to see all of the colliders for my sprites. In this case I have the monkey face and it is a square, but you can see there's a lot of empty space here. This would not really work great for a collider for this object. So we are going to edit the collider. You can do that in the sprites category. And if the code is unlocked, you can add the set collider command. And we can do this at the beginning. Unless it's changing inside the code, it doesn't really need to go. We can just set it once and then leave it as is. Now, if you don't have that code, you can always use text mode and just type in sprite.setCollider and then go back to block mode. Now, it'll start off as a rectangle. We can also change that to a circle. Let me turn the debug sprites back on. But there's even more that you can do. Notice there's this arrow here, which means we can add some parameters. Okay. Now, what do these parameters do? Well, this is a great chance to look at the documentation. Right? This is going to tell us how every single code works. So let's look at the sprites category and let's go for the set collider. Where is it? There it is. Okay, and it's going to tell us what these different parameters do. Okay, so first is type. That's either rectangle or circle. The next two are X and Y offset. Okay, so that's the offset in the X direction from the center of the sprite to the collider. So why don't I show you what that looks like. Let's say we're to offset the circle by maybe 200 pixels and nothing for the Y. So you can't even see it anymore. Well, you can. Okay, so what that has done is moved the collider 200 pixels to the right from the center of the sprite. Now I could do the same thing with the Y. Alright, let me debug sprites again, and you can see now it's moved down a little bit. Now usually these will be 0 because I want the sprite at the center of the collider. Okay, but let's look at the next two. Okay, width or radius and height. So I can set the radius of the circle if I do this next parameter. So that will basically make the circle smaller. So right now it's pretty big, but if I add another parameter and make this maybe 100, you can now see that it's much smaller, so I can decide on the size. Okay, now if I use a rectangle, I believe I can also set the width and height. So you can customize the let me turn the debug on here. You can customize the shape of it. Sprite.debug equals true, that way it doesn't keep shutting off. So now you can customize the shape of the collider, essentially. I can make it big, I can make it taller, let me make it like 300. So that way you can make the collider basically whatever shape you want. You can even rotate a little bit. This last parameter I believe is the rotation offset, which is going to angle the collider. So if I set like 45 degrees, now you see it's at an angle, so you can change that as well. Okay, good luck everybody.